What's up, you guys? Thanks for joining me again. We have this block of mild steel. It's all kind of cut up on the edges. It has this ear coming off the top. This head was already cut off. It's from a scrap pile. I'm thinking what we're gonna do with this is turn this into an old clothes iron. I'm gonna take a 4.5 inch cutoff wheel, remove this ear, probably taper in one side, slightly take off the corners on the other side, and clean off what's left of this greenish olive paint. So we're going to start with cutting this ear off. We just finished cutting through that ear. Now we're going to taper this side in more towards a point for the clothes iron and barely take off the corners on this back side. So I took some soapstone and I went down on the left side about 2 inches, same on the right. Found the center on top, which is about 1.75 inches. Marked that, drew a line. That's going to be the point of our iron, of our clothes iron. Then for the back, I went in about 1/2 inch on the bottom, on the left and right side, up 1 inch on the left and right side. Now I'm going to take the straight edge and draw a line. Draw a line. I'll be cutting off this corner, up here, and up here. We now have that one side cut. I'm thinking we're going to leave the back as is and use the grinding wheel to kind of contour and round off these back corners. Now we're going to switch the 4.5 inch angle grinder over to a grinding wheel instead of a cutoff wheel and start doing some material removal. So after a ridiculous amount of grinding, this is where we are. Now we'll start moving on to the decorative metal piece that's going to come up from the front of this clothes iron, and then we'll work on the wooden handle that's attached to that decorative metal piece. For our decorative metal piece that's going to be coming off of the top of this clothes iron, we're going to be using this horseshoe. I'm going to take the angle grinder, cut off both sides, flip them around so the decorative parts are facing outward, tack weld the seam, and then that's going to be our piece coming off right here. To the top of that, we'll be welding this bolt, and then we'll also be welding these two nuts together. And these nuts will be epoxied into handle material, and then we'll screw that handle material onto that decorative piece. So we have the welder hooked up, same welding rod, 1/8 inch 6010 at 84 amps DC electrode positive. We have our cut horseshoe pieces held together in the vise. We're going to do a couple welds on the seam, flip it around to the other side, and we're going to clean it up with a wire wheel and then take it over and let you see how that looks on the iron. So we have the seam, the two pieces welded up so they're back to back. Couple tacks around the seam, the bottom flattened out, and this is what I was thinking. Now we're going to weld that piece to the front of the iron, and we will move on from there. That's what we got going on now. We have that decorative piece welded on. Now we're going to weld on this bolt parallel with the bottom That's what we'll do now. That bolt welded onto the top of those two pieces of horseshoe, and we use the sanding wheel to kind of round it. All these two loose nuts that are on the threaded portion of the bolt, we're going to tack weld so that both of these are permanently stuck together. And then we'll start working on the wooden handle portion of this project. We have this piece of elm. We're going to put this on the bandsaw and cut off a 6-inch section, and then we're going to split that on the stump and use that for the handle material. Now this round is way too thick, so we're going to put it on the stump, use the axe, the hammer, and thin it out some. It's getting close, maybe a little bit more, and we will work with that. Alright, that's thin enough. So now that we have our handle material thinned down from that piece of elm, we're going to find a drill bit that is about the same diameter of these nuts welded together, and we're going to drill into one end of this handle, and then once that is drilled out, we're going to glue these nuts into this handle material. I found a drill bit that's pretty dang close to that size. We want it to be a little on the tighter side, so once we have the hole drilled into the handle material, we will then press them into that drilled out hole. We have that hole drilled out and it fits pretty tight. Now we're going to unscrew those two nuts, put them on top of this, and use a hammer and hammer them down into the handle material. As we're hammering this into our handle material, we want to make sure that it is nice and true, so that once it is screwed onto our iron, it's sitting straight, centered back and forth, and it's not too far up or too far down. That looks pretty good. Now we're going to take some super glue and glue those two nuts into the handle material. Then we will start shaping the handle. So around the nut, we're going to be using the gel. Make sure we hold it on the crack or any spaces around the nut and fill it in really well, like that. Now that we have the nuts glued into the hole and that's set up, we're going to take a box cutter and start roughly shaping up the handle. It'll save us a lot of time on the belt sander. Now we're going to get out the belt sander and start doing some shaping. We have the handle rounded how we wanted. We are running out of daylight, so now before we finish off the handle and the iron, we're going to take the wire wheel on the 4.5-inch angle grinder, hit all the metal parts with the wire wheel, and then we're going to dip the handle in boiled linseed oil, and we are done. This low light is not going to do this justice, so tomorrow morning when I have better lighting, I will show you the finished product. It's the next day. Here's a better quality video of how this looks. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're gonna head in and we'll heat this up on the wood stove and we will try it out, see how it works. Yep. Works good. Heck yeah.